Hey everybody, and welcome to the Mortgage Coach Tuesday interview. My name is Dave Savage, CEO of Mortgage Coach, and we have an awesome call today. I am super excited. Do want to remind everybody this call is recorded. It will be in our YouTube channel within hours, and our YouTube channel is amazing. I mean, it's mind-boggling how many loan officers are learning the business from Mortgage Coach. How to do just about everything in this business is in our YouTube channel. So check it out, and if you do not subscribe to our YouTube channel, subscribe so that when we add a new video, you're getting an alert and you know what's there. So today, as my co-host, I have Kristin Messerli. I'm actually showing a slide, and Kristin, if you don't mind, join me on camera real quick here. Was it a week, 2 weeks ago you were in the office here with me? How long ago was it that we recorded live here out of Portland?
Yeah, I think it was a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, a couple weeks ago here at WeWork in Portland, Oregon. By the way, I'm hearing a lot of mortgage professionals are starting to work out of WeWorks. In fact, we've got a couple mortgage professionals working out of WeWork Portland. So that is a movement, and I'm starting to hear about Mortgage Coach members that are doing lunch and learns at WeWork. They're doing happy hour events for home buying. So stay tuned on what's going on there. Also, make sure you check out the interview that Kristin and I did. God, that was just a couple days ago where we talked about doing realtor lunch and learn events. This is actually a picture of Kristin doing a lunch and learn event about a month ago. So check out that video, just posted earlier this week. But this conversation is dedicated to Casey Cunningham. Casey, if you don't mind joining us on stage here, turn on your camera. What's up, Casey?
Hello, what's up? How are you?
Hey, it's good to have you.
It is good to have you. Great to be here.
So it is indeed. And I think you and I did a Skype interview a month, maybe 2 months ago. We talked about fastest path to success for new loan officers. So there's a 20-minute conversation for that. If you're watching this on the video, there'll be a link below in the description to the last interview I did with Casey. But I want to have a bigger conversation. I also want to have Kristin helping me have this conversation on, one, how do we bring new loan officers into the business? More importantly, how do we get them to massive success, as quickly as possible? I personally think 5 loans a month is the target for every new loan officer. That's a sustainable level of success. But I framed this call around 50 loans a year. How can you get into this business, get to 50 loans a year quickly? Casey's going to help us give us a path for that. And then I also want to make this call relevant that if you're not a new loan officer, you've been doing this 1 year, 3 years, you've been doing it 20 years, and you're not closing 5 loans a month, you're not closing 50 loans a year, we're going to help you have the action steps to reboot your career and make 2018 a year that whether you're new or whether you've been in the business and you're just not hitting that number, you get to that number. So Casey, let's, if you don't mind just sharing a little bit about yourself, and then we'll start hitting you with questions between Kristin and I.
Excellent. Well, first of all, thanks for having me, Dave. Hello, everybody. What a privilege it is to have a few minutes with you today. I have been in the industry 30 plus years, right? I won't go into the full numbers, Dave. In my 30 plus years, I have had the privilege of course, doing virtually every role. Prior to opening Xenix, I was executive vice president. The company was about a $4 billion mortgage company. I was a former top producer and had the privilege of actually leading the company from processing, closing, underwriting, shipping. So I've been a producing manager, a high-performing top LO, and have had Xenix, the company today, for 15, and will be going on 16 years in January. So I went through 2008, 9, 10 with all of you, and incredibly connected to our industry, as our sole focus is to help drive performance for new people, experienced loan officers, sales leaders, whether they're producing or not, and totally empower and drive performance in the sales and leadership realm. So that is what Xenix is focused on, and that's what we do for a living.
I love that. So Kristin, when you want to ask a question or join the conversation, just turn on your video and we'll know you're here. Hey guys.
Okay, sounds great.
So Casey, let's start this conversation around fastest path, and let's just have a target, whether it's 50 loans or 60 loans. I do want to get a sense from the audience where you're at. So if you guys could answer this poll question really quickly. Are you closing less than 50 loans a year? Yes or no? 50 to 100, 100 to 200, or 200 plus? Where are you at? And anybody who comes to Mortgage Coach calls knows that I really require you guys to engage, whether it's asking questions in GoToWebinar or answering our poll questions. I need 70% of you to vote so we know we've got something that really represents the audience at hand. Right now, only 65% of you have voted, so come on, guys. Let's get into the content. Give us a vote. So Casey, here we are. I'm going to go ahead and post the results. 66% are less than 5. Less than 50. 26%, 50 to 100. 6%, 100 to 200. And then we've got 2% over 200. And by the way, folks, and Casey, I think this is right, that a top 1% mortgage professional is about 100 plus loans a year, puts you in the top 1%. Do you align with that?
Yeah, absolutely. I think a couple of things. Those statistics are almost in line with our industry average. Let me give you some shocking statistics for everybody to tell you we're at a pivotal point in our industry. And man, that pivotal point, by the way, what I'm sharing with you means there's an opportunity. It's not to get concerned, but it's definitely intended for everyone to take action, because if you do what you're currently doing, you will continue to get what you currently got, right? So listen to these numbers, Dave. In 2016, so everybody might want to write this one down, 2016, large independent mortgage companies, okay, large independent mortgage companies averaged 3.7 loans per loan officer. In the first half of this year, the rest of the numbers are not in yet, just the first half, it's gone down to 3. Now, banks, large banks, your competitors, if you will, the large banks, they were averaging 4.5 in 2016, and hold on to your shirt. Right now, the first half of this year, they averaged 2.5. Now, here's the shocking challenge of this, Dave, and I don't know. I've been in the industry over 30 years, and I can tell you the numbers have not radically shifted, even though we have the advancement of all the technology, right, and all the efficiencies that you would think are in play to help make loan officers more productive. But I have a very strong opinion as to why we have stayed and remained stuck, and why we're right now going to see a continuous decline in productivity. Obviously, refis are not completely gone, but they're close to being gone. And how many refi waves can we continue to have? But now it's exposing companies and the realities of, are your loan officers properly equipped to go into the market and sell? And I say go, whether that means go online or social media selling. The key is do they have a platform that is successfully driving them to 4-5 units a month? I just met with a lender. You'd love this, Dave, because the industry, Xenix is sort of a barometer today of new LOs and experienced LOs, and listening to these executives share with us everything from either I have no standard of production each month, or I have a minimum standard I haven't held people to. I have an organization that just said, we're averaging about 3.8, and we're raising our standard to 10. I'll let that sit for a moment. The reality is, many of you listening in are going, 10? Man, I'd be ecstatic if I could get every LO in my company to 10. Well, question I'm going to challenge everybody is, why haven't you made that the standard? Why haven't you made 8 the standard? 2 a week. The reality is it is possible. I have seen it. I have been in a company where $1 million a month was the minimum requirement out of every loan officer, equaling 5 units a month at minimum to even work there. And so I would challenge leaders today to really say, what is the minimum standard to work in your company? And believe it or not, you raise the minimum, people will raise their game. So it begins with that. But anyways, shocking statistics, wasn't it, Dave? The numbers
it was. Great statistics. And I mean, one thing I believe, and everybody coming into 2018, you have to just come to some conclusions. One, there's going to be less refi. There's going to be more purchase, but competition is going to be as fierce as ever. And a few more things that align with what you just said is that every lender out there, between technology, helping the Costco lenders and the online lenders and the bigger lenders, and the cost to manufacture a loan going so high, companies, the C-suite needs to raise standards, and the C-suite has to manage standards. So if you were a loan officer that's closing less than 50 loans a year, you've got to top grade yourself. You've got to level up your performance. And so we're going to give you a path to doing that. By the way, Casey, before we do that, let's just do a minute kind of rapid fire on why a loan officer needs to close, 50 plus, 60 plus loans a year. Let's just why do they need to do it? I'm going to go first, and then let's just go back and forth for a minute, and then let's start jumping into tactics and strategies to get there for new loan officers. So first of all, I'm going to make the case that if you're not doing 50 loans a year, you can't be awesome at what you do. You're not getting enough reps. I don't care what you do, the more reps you get, the better you get. And if you're not having 100 plus borrower conversations a year, which by the way, that's what it takes, best case, that's at a 50% conversion, which is insane. You need to, between families that don't qualify, folks that aren't right, you've got to plan for more than a 50% conversion, but you're just not getting enough reps. So that's one reason. Casey, what's a couple more reasons why loan officers need to get there?
First of all, you can't just feel really great about yourself, and I say that with all love and care and compassion to everyone, to say, man, be exceptional. And I do agree, by the way, the more time you're at bat, the better you get. But the industry, and I hope I'm speaking to people and they understand with compassion, that there's a high probability that that salesperson that is underperforming is part of the aged sales force, and they're burned out. Well, who wants to go to work every day and struggle? And I'm going to have you reset. If I was coaching you or speaking to you quite candidly and say, let's reset and let's make 2018 write that chapter of your life as one of your best and most incredible chapters, so that you can look back and not have regret. And a lot of people say they're burned out and they're tired, and I'm like, yeah, but let's work exceptionally hard to retire exceptionally sooner if you're burned out. And if you're not ready to retire, let's reignite and let's make sure that we can get you to that retirement age at a faster pace. Hey, if you're going to work 8 hours a day, which a lot of you are doing that, and you're not getting the results, I don't need to change you. We just need to change your strategy. Because the reality is if you're showing up and not getting results, then it's time to reevaluate what you're doing every day. And that's what I'm hoping to help you with today, Dave.
All right. So let's go. Let's go. Okay, new loan officer. Speak to managers. What do we got to do to pick the right people and bring people into the space that can achieve that level of performance? Then let's go speak directly to new loan officers. So, let's make this interview that we're having part of an onboarding experience for the Mortgage Coach community. So it's like, here's the path to success. Okay. And then after we get done with that conversation, let's make sure that we connect the dots for anybody that's already in the space and they just need to reboot. And then, okay, Kristin, come in, add some color as much as you want. And to me, while I just asked Casey about 2 or 3 questions, it's the question after the question that really creates the magic of the value for today's call. So jump in anytime, Kristin, and Casey, lay it out for us.
Okay, so you want me to start with new LOs or experienced LOs, how to take the ones that are underperforming to the next level, and if they're listening in, how to get to the next level?
I'll do one. I'll give you the basis now. New loan officers and managers, speak to that audience about fastest path to bring in people and get there. Okay. Give us the roadmap.
Obviously, everyone, listen, huge passion, huge amount of experience and knowledge doing this. We put in thousands a year right now through Xenix. I have personally, when I was leading my team, putting in hundreds a year. So there's a 3-part formula, and if you want to put this up on the screen, you can, Dave, because I think the education here is a real important factor. So anybody who is, let's just go to this one, the one that says Formula for Success for New LOs, that one. All right, so if you are looking at bringing a new LO into the market right now, and you're a manager listening in, I'm going to tell you, first of all, they're not bringing them in fast enough, and we can talk more about that in a moment. But what's the formula? If you miss any part of this 3 parts, then you are at risk of not having a successful new loan officer. And the big question you ask me is, what's the fastest path? Well, you got to source them well. If you need insight on how to source them well and some some caveats and some what I consider some milestones for a potential newbie to come in. I'm happy to share that. But from a sourcing standpoint, what assessment are you using? What questions are you asking? And what standards are you setting? So when you source, there's some amazing careers that transition well into our industry. But the first piece is you got to source them well. So let's say you've got a really qualified candidate, you feel great. And by the way, one of my barometers is would I want to take them to dinner at night with my spouse and enjoy time with them? If for any reason your answer is no, you may not want to add them to your team. So that's the first big one for me is I want to spend time with these people and I'm going to be pouring my life into them. So make sure I like them and that they are exceptional. So the first one is sourcing. You source them well. You got a selection process. So there's 3 pieces of your selection. You need to have a great interview. You need to have as well a comprehensive assessment that you trust that actually gives you some caveats. Are they a driven salesperson? And then the third is you need a validation team. So it's not just you as a manager saying, yep, I like the guy, but having people around you concur that this is the right person to bring into the team and invest in them. Now, once you have the candidate, the second part, the training, you got to have today a comprehensive training program so you can get them to the market fast. Now, let's assume you have picked the right person and you've got training. You'll find out, this is a crazy, Dave, but a lot of people forget the assimilation part. And what do I mean by assimilation? It means getting them successful quickly and giving them the sales process to hammer and to nail every single day from the moment they get into the market so that they experience that I'm going to call it, I don't know if a drug's the right word, but that euphoria of I got a loan, I got another one. And you get addicted, and you guys that are in the industry with me and you've been doing it a long time, you know what I'm talking about. But the majority of new LOs who start and quit is because of one major reason. Hear me carefully, everybody. You ready? The number one reason, 80% of new loan officers who enter their market and don't make it their first year is due to one reason. You ready? Lack of prospecting. So that number 3 that I said, assimilation, is about making sure that all the training actually gets implemented and you walk them into the market, which means you give them a sales training, you give them a sales process and hold them accountable. So if 80% of new LOs fail their first year due to lack of prospecting, well, what's the answer? Make sure you are holding them accountable to prospecting. So hopefully that helped in context. So what's the fastest path? Have a process and make sure you follow it. Now, obviously, Xenix has got some solutions, but I'll wait and talk about that in a moment.
Kristin, I'll let you go first with any questions.
Yeah, so this is really timely. I just spoke with a group at the MBA called Impact, and these are all millennials who talked about their experience being a new LO and what that was like. A lot of them talked about how difficult it was to prospect and become successful, but once they did, how it was just the cost of entry was very, very high for them, and they talked about how difficult that was. But one thing that I found as well was, and I think you'll talk more about that aspect of it, but I also found that a lot of millennials seem to assimilate into the culture that they're in, assimilate in kind of a negative way, I think, or they're assimilating into the culture of the company, and oftentimes that culture is not super accepting of new LOs. They don't have a process in place to help them with prospecting or help them to grow and to, overcome that number one barrier you're talking about. And a lot of times they're also not very promotional about technology and using being an LO in the modern era. And so I heard a lot of people at the table last night talking about how, even talking bad about millennials or, I don't know, I felt like they kind of assimilated into the culture, thinking negatively about where they're coming from, and then also saying, yeah, it's a hard life coming in as a new LO. So how can managers really cultivate or create a culture that is welcoming of new LOs, that creates the space for them to encourage mentorship and those kinds of prospecting opportunities where they're going alongside other LOs and other members of their team in order to be successful?
Kristin, that is a great question, and I'm passionate about what you just said, because the assimilation part is the most important factor once you finish the training. And I highly recommend any managers listening in, it will absolutely serve you well if you ever can do it in buddies, where there's another person with them that is getting assimilated at the same time. So they have someone from a practice, from a frustration, someone to actually socialize with that's experiencing what they're experiencing. And Kristin, I could not agree more. Do you know that the onboarding, there are 8 elements to help people get highly engaged, and one of them is the onboarding, that assimilation piece into the market. And you got to be very intentional. And to me, that's where you get the new LO socialized with other young people in the branch. If there's not another young person in the branch, you definitely want to have them in a buddy system. If you have a company that is, you're in a smaller branch and you're only going to bring in one, talk to other managers who are bringing in young LOs and try to track them together in your company. Our guide is real specific about how to help that new LO get into the market quickly so that the manager knows exactly what they need to do to help them. And so, boy, it's good to hear, and you're right. Here's the challenge I would recommend managers listening in. When a new LO is arriving, there's a lot of things that Xenix has done. We've won 10 culture awards. That means that the people of Xenix love working there, and we create a culture of success, if you will. And some of the things that we do, highly recommend for you guys that would help drive that millennial and the connection to your culture and your branch. So here's something we do at Xenix. The minute we've hired a new associate at Xenix, 2 weeks, you ready? For whether they gave a 2-week notice to come work for us, but for 10 days, they get a phone call, assuming, you know, I got more than 10 people in my brand, in my company, of course, but if you only have 5 people, you can do 5 days before they start. Well, they get a phone call that just says, welcome to the company, can't wait to meet you on day 1. That's a high touch, high caring conversation, and it's an easy thing to do by just coordinating, hey, Susan, you call them and welcome them today, and you coordinate that for 5 days. That's one easy thing to do. Another easy thing is the day they arrive at Xenix, we have not only someone greeting them in the lobby, but we also have at their desk a very social feeling that says everything from their favorite candy bar, favorite sports team. We might have a mug, a hat, something personal with personal notes from everyone in the company, to tchotchkes that are specific to the company to get them excited. And then, of course, the last phone call that they receive typically before they come to work at Xenix is from me saying, welcome to our team, and I want you to know how excited we are to have you make a difference. Now, this is, I don't know if that helps at all, but the millennials, I love them. I know they get a bad rap, but I got to tell you, a good percentage of my company are these young and driven, wonderful individuals. So I welcome them in my company.
Great.
Love it. So, Kristin, that was a great conversation, and I want to continue going down that path because I think we'll be able to unpack pretty quickly what are the tactics to get to success. And by the way, we could just focus on one: prospecting, prospecting, prospecting. You do that, and I could say it 5 more times and say, hey, here's the 5 keys to success, and just say prospecting 5 times, using a total cost analysis to convert.
Right.
So I don't want to oversimplify everything, but Casey, I want to talk real quick about the fact that there's so many things as an industry we do to shoot ourselves in the foot, whether it's leadership and executives just going, you know what, it's too expensive to bring in new talent, so they don't put enough strategic energy into it. To Kristin's point, whether it's the culture, you know, you're a branch manager, and you just have a culture that is not making it easy for new people to come in and get after it. So if you could speak to all the managers and all the branch managers that, you know, you want to bring in new talent, you want them to be successful, we're going to give you the path. But what do they need to do? How do they need to think differently? Any thoughts?
Absolutely. I have a lot of thoughts. Okay, so for the managers listening in, your number one decision is really hiring newbies or hiring experience, right? Or growing the production, I'll say, of your current LOs. My strategy is you got to have all 3. And let me share with you, maybe this will help shift your mentality about new LOs, because I do hear it often, Dave, you know, I don't like new loan officers. They're too much work. They've never made it. And my question is, well, did you properly source them? Did you train them? And did you help assimilate them? And the answer is almost resoundingly no. So for managers, let me share with you, a new LO will shift your entire company and will provide you the energy that you may be lacking in your branch from some of the burnout, because these young people come in, and they elevate the game because no one wants to get beat by the rookie. And I highly recommend it. We call it the Xenix lift when a rookie arrives from Xenix, and everybody's like, I don't want to get beat by the young guy. So I'm not telling you it's an all or nothing, like you only need to do rookies. But I want to shift something too, Dave, because we keep talking about young people. Please note, I'm not even talking about the college kids. I'm talking about the Kristins who are in their second or third career. They might be late 20s, early 30s, and they're mature. Those guys, there's some people right now that are traveling 90% of their life away from their families, making a fraction of what a loan officer is, who would love our industry. So don't think of it as these young kids. Think of it as younger people today that we have in our industry, and realize the more rookies you bring in, the higher you elevate, because they don't know what they don't know. And do not tell them that the minimum production is 4 units. Tell them it's 10. I promise you they will go, okay, well, if that's what everybody does, I will work to achieve the minimum. It proved out, Dave, you'll love this, in my previous company prior to Xenix, we literally raised the minimum on the rookies. And here's a quick tip for all the managers. You will love this. I did this by accident, Dave, and it was brilliant. And I'm going to just say it was an accident. When I had rookies coming out, I told all of them the competition was who had the best first month, second month, and I was going to see who had the best month out of the group for 12 months. All right, so they all started on the same day. Well, the second group who came in, I said, can anybody beat the previous 12 months of records? The third group, can y'all beat that one? Never had a group not beat the previous group because I set the target higher. So I'm going to challenge the managers right now. I think you guys rethink and go, well, it hasn't worked in the past because maybe I haven't really put a plan around it. Now, Xenix is here to help you plug into a plan to make it easier on your life and more predictable, but hopefully that was what you were, I know you weren't leading me, you were just asking, but that's my thoughts.
No, I thought those were good thoughts. So let's just rip off what's a formula for success? What are a few of the simple disciplines that need to be repeated daily to drive that, whether it's a new loan officer, whether it's an existing loan officer that needs to upgrade themselves? What are some of those disciplines?
All right, so everybody listen in, for managers, loan officers, I can share with you right now, you have certain disciplines every day in your life. Let's stay outside of business for a moment. You brush your teeth, you get up, you take a shower, brush your hair, I don't know, whatever. You have certain disciplines that are just non-negotiables. You do them naturally, right? So my question is every day as a loan officer, I hear on a regular basis, I got busy managing my pipeline. Well, your pipeline can't be that big if the average units out there is around 3, okay? So I say that with all respect, but please know, you cannot let a day go by where you do not prospect. So what is the minimum amount that you should prospect? I'll give you some quick examples that you can choose from, but some predictable ones, right? Calling your database every day. Set a number, 10 calls a day. That is a simple discipline. You make 50 calls in a week, all right? 10 a day. I'd ask everybody, are you making that many right now? It's impossible not to find a loan when you call 50 people in a week. Another simple discipline is having meetings with referral sources. Do you have 1 a day, and do you make that a minimum requirement of your day? If not, and by the way, everybody tells me they don't have time, I'm going to challenge you to say on your way to work and on your way home, there's a high probability you are passing referral sources, right? They work in real estate offices, they might be in a builder, in a community, CPA firms, financial planning, stockbrokers, insurance agents, you are passing them. So why not, from a simple discipline, for all you experienced guys listening in right now, decide, okay, I'm going to create my own simple disciplines. By the way, every Olympic athlete, every great person in America that is great has simple, non-negotiable disciplines. So, and the other way, that formula for success has been proven time and time again. The top guys in the country are consistent. They prospect every day. And I have the privilege, Dave, like you do, where we get to interview these top professionals around the country. And hands down, they are all disciplined. They all do the prospecting on a regular basis. It is, and they're unwavering. Like, prospecting's never going to be at risk. Another thing is networking events. Are you going to them? Listen, these young guys and young future homebuyers, they're at the networking events. The real estate community, they're at networking events because that's where your future referral sources may be. So, quick, was that enough, or you want me to keep going? Because I can give you more disciplines, but the key is that you make a decision to execute it in your business.
Love it. So think about it. What you just heard: prospecting, prospecting, prospecting. You heard quantity of prospecting. I do want to, we've got the mortgage coach community here, so I do want to remind everybody: quality of prospecting. When you get a borrower, are you going to deliver a fee worksheet like every other loan officer? Are you going to deliver a better experience? Options, cost over time, in a native mobile experience. That's quality. And when you're meeting with realtors, are you asking great questions? And then when you explain strategies and you show them how you're going to create clarity and urgency with their buyers, are you doing that in the highest quality way possible? So everybody on this call, you are a mortgage coach. This is the year where those of you that are not delivering a total cost analysis to every family, every realtor understands how you're better than their competitors. It's the year to upgrade your skills. Whether a family is coming into your office or a realtor is coming through your office experience, whether it's in a coffee shop or whether it's a pure internet, I'm on the phone and the consumer is getting my advice, they're getting my presentation. You've got to top grade your quality of presentation. So Casey, I want to drive this around Xenix because let's face it, you've got a great process. When I think of the clients that use you, and the reason I invite you to this call is a lot of our mutual clients, they use you to bring new loan officers through your process. So if you don't mind, and I've got some slides, I don't know which one you want me to show, but if you could use, call it the Xenix method of bringing loan officers through, if you could describe that for us so everybody understands your best practices, and you just tell me which slide to be on.
Yeah, certainly. And if you don't mind, I got to just speak to you for a moment. You didn't ask me to do this, but let me tell you, Mortgage Coach is a no-brainer. You want to set yourself apart, right? Meet with the realtor and show her your capability of how you can serve their customer. Imagine the millennial, the new LO. Again, don't think college kid. Think of more of a mature professional who's in their late 20s, early 30s. Imagine they're coming in. They're going to adopt the technology immediately. So if you're worried about, can I get them productive, go to the slide, if you don't mind. Let me show you a new LO for a moment, the slide that says originator on it. Because I want to give you guys fast path to success, because the number one challenge you're saying is, I don't know if I can afford a rookie. And I'm going to tell you, I don't know if you can't afford it, because listen to what's happening at Xenix. All right, what you see in front of you is for a new loan officer. When they finish the 3 phases you see in front of them, do you know that our rookies, these are rookies, their first 30 days, you see that 4-week mark at the bottom there on the far right? During officer school, that's when we're assimilating, which means they're making sales calls. They're coming to class on Monday for 90 minutes, and they are given assignments to prospect every day. We hold them accountable every day for 30 days, and guess what the number is? It's exceeding the industry average. It's 4.3 applications in the first 30 days. So if you're worried, man, I can't afford it, I'm going to tell you, these guys are going to outperform your producers if you put a process behind it and if you decide to engage Xenix. Now, how do we know it? Well, your loan officers report to us. So our Originator program for new loan officers, that's the name of it, Originator, has 3 phases: ground school, 55 lessons, 55 quizzes, 10 tests, an exam, and they will walk out and be able to talk to you within 3 weeks and speak the industry language. Now, just so you know, you'll love this, Dave. We had a company recently said, I want to test your company, and I'm like, of course, I get it. Everybody wants to test. I'm like, I'm 15 years of testing, but that's good. Test us. Put 27 rookies into ground school on the exact same morning. Now, you can start rookies every hour at Xenix. You don't have to start them at the same time. This company tested all 27 to see if they all finished in 3 weeks, and all 27 finished in 2 weeks. So you can have up to 3 weeks, as you can see in here, but 2 weeks. Then you go in, you have to pass a big exam. So now I can talk Fannie, Freddie, FHA, and VA with this rookie, but now I got to make sure they know how to deal structure, which is flight school. Flight school is about making sure they know how to take a customer scenario and bring it to life and actually speak the language of our industry. And this is exactly where Mortgage Coach comes in, a perfect time, as we teach them specifically case study after case study, how to speak to a customer, how to deal structure, how to understand the borrower, and most importantly, they already start prospecting in the middle of flight school. So they have to pass a big exam in flight school. Then they're in the market. Officer school, they are directly out in the market and doing exactly what we want and told them to do. We don't give them a lot of options because they can get kicked out. And every day they report in. So we have 3 phases to build the competency. Our originator program is already there for you. If you would like help, managers, you're like, I want to build new LOs, I don't know how, we have a guide for you. That's 10 steps to develop the next generation of LOs. It's on the screen. Go to xenix.com/guide, and you can get access to that, and it gives you the steps. You just finish each step, and then you will have the full formula to be able to build this and leveraging Xenix. So that, by the way, you want to show the spider chart, and that might give them a quick, when you go, Casey, what all do you teach? Look at this. Everything in our originator program is in front of you right now. It's huge, okay? So, and it's comprehensive, but that's what all 3 phases cover. All right, so that is all 3 phases. We've broken it down.
Beautiful.
All right, so go to the other one, and I'll press that. But go ahead, Dave.
You tell me which one you want to go to. This one?
Go to that one. And so here, everyone, so the new LO is on the far right. I gave you a process, but I want to make sure managers are walking away with some substance and saying, how can I help my underperformers? Or how can I help my middle guys even get better, or my top guys even explode? Xenix is built for you, so we have 3 programs. The Elite is self-explanatory. That is for your guys that are currently doing 8 to 10 units a month that want to go to 15 to 20 units. It is very strategic. It is tactical as well, and we hold you accountable. The Edge program is how to build referral sources. We talked about, those simple disciplines. Well, the simple disciplines are in the Edge. We hold you accountable while we teach you how to go after referral sources. I loved what you said, Dave, about, got to have quality people. We don't want you to go after everybody. We want you to go after the select few. And we teach you how to have quality meetings. If you have Mortgage Coach, that's a no-brainer, where you'll leverage our process and bring your Mortgage Coach technology into the conversation to help bring value. So easy stuff when you have a one-on-one. And then the last program is Ignite. So that's the CrossFit. My husband calls it that. I love it. He's like, not everybody wants to go to CrossFit, but some of you do. Some of you are like, I'm at 4 units, I'm at 3, I'm stuck, or I'm at 8 units and I want to double. That's Ignite. But you got to apply to get into Ignite. All of the performance programs you see on the screen have a full-time performance coach. We call them performance specialists at Xenix, who are with you every step of the way, driving your success. So hopefully that gave some solutions to everyone to know that you can leverage us if you like. We are here for you.
Love it. So everybody, you've got a place where you could go get a more expensive playbook. We will be continuing this conversation on our Facebook page. Also want to remind everybody, if you can still see my screen, that at Mortgage Coach, we do have a new loan officer playlist. So when I think of some of the best interviews I've done, and by the way, Casey, you are in this playlist of videos, but it starts with Simon Sinek. Anyway, I could go on with each one of these, but we do have a 10, and by the way, I'm probably going to add this video to our playlist. So we're going to have an 11 video playlist, whether you're a manager who's bringing in new loan officers. Here's 10 amazing Mortgage Coach videos that are recordings from past conversations that will help you, or if you're a new loan officer, requirements. And by the way, I would say that if you're not closing over 5 loans a month, 50 loans plus a year, 60 loans plus a year, go back and watch all of these during the holidays. So let's do this. I don't want to miss an opportunity with the two of you on this call to have a conversation about something that I think is very important for our industry. You know, I was going through the past 52 weeks of Mortgage Coach calls saying, hey, what are the best Mortgage Coach interviews for 2017? Because I want to brag about that. I want to shine a light on that. And I have to admit, there was not enough women that I interviewed. And I think of Sales Mastery, I think of Mortgage Mastermind, I think of all the big events. And when you look at, you know, the women that represent our industry, whether it's in the C-suite, whether it's top producers, it's not the representation at leadership in our industry, it's not on par. And so one of my goals at Mortgage Coach is to see more women on stage, more women on our Tuesday interviews. So I would like to propose that we chat about that a little bit. Also, everybody, I did ask Sue Woodard, a personal friend of mine and a tremendous leader in the mortgage industry, to join this last part of the call. What's up, Sue? I don't know that Sue needs much of an introduction. She's been on a lot of stages in our industry, but you know, Sue's been an amazing loan officer. She's been a leader in our industry. You've spoken to tens of thousands of loan officers.
Probably, yeah.
So, yeah, it's been a lot. So let's talk about this, guys. And Casey, since you are the guest of honor, we'll let you go first. Kristin, since you are my co-host, I'll let you really drive this conversation a little bit. And let's talk about it. What are we going to do in 2018 to have more women on stage leading our industry? Casey, we'll let you go first.
You know, the first thing is we just have to be deserving of it, right? We have to be more in the market, if you will, and probably lead more of the discussions to get those invites, if you will. It has always been sort of saddened to me to see that it is primarily men. And Kristin and I have had great dialogue about that in the past. Why is it primarily men? And I'm like, you know, the industry at large when I got in was primarily men. So it may just be a nature of percentage-wise, women are finding out over the past, I'd say 10, 15 years, that this is an incredible profession. So I just believe they may have more time in the industry than us, not because we aren't doing exceptional things, but I think this next year, making sure we have a bigger voice both on social media and in platforms like this today, because it's not about being a woman, it's really about just bringing value, and I just happen to be a woman. You know, because does that make sense? And I don't know if Sue would agree. I don't want to be invited because I'm a woman. I want to be invited because I'm bringing value.
Yeah.
I think one thing that we've talked about, and I did an interview with Casey on Mortgage Women magazine, kind of talking about this a little bit. And one of the things that you brought up was just, we talked about some of the specific recruitment tactics to recruiting more women. And of course, women need to take responsibility for getting their voice heard, but I think there needs to be some intentionality around pulling women out. You know, I mean, a lot of women have disproportionately high childcare responsibilities at home, and for whatever reason, we're just kind of a little bit hold back until we think that we have exactly the perfect thing to say. And so what are some things, Sue and Casey, that you think we could do as an industry to really try to be more intentional about pulling out women and kind of encouraging, I guess, more women to get involved in having this kind of voice?
You know, there's two things, I guess, that I would really share. And part of it is, I think, and you were just really touching on this, Kristin, is I think for women to also have, I guess, the ability to get out of their comfort zone and speak up. I think in many cases, you know, women are, you know, we're quiet in a meeting, or one of my big pet peeves is when you hear people say, can I ask a question, or could I just add something? Just add something. You know, you have something great to share, whether it's in a meeting, in a boardroom, with a team, on a project. And it's, you know, don't be afraid sometimes to interrupt. I think sometimes we, you know, wait, but, you know, being silent never really helped anybody achieve anything. It's like that saying about well-behaved women rarely make history, right? So I think sometimes it's just a matter of, you know, just, you know, grabbing the, you know, the kind of the bull by the horns, take what your fears are. I think people worry sometimes and apologize, and I'd say just get out of your head and go with your gut and speak up and have confidence in your own ability that you have something really valuable to contribute. And one of the things Dave and I chatted about that I think we're going to have a conversation about in January is, I'd really like to do, one of these calls with him, really talking about how do more women get on stage. Some of those speaking skills and opportunities, and where do you find the opportunities. So I really want to dig into that, because I certainly had a lot of women helping me and lifting me up. Pat Sherlock, Karen Dyes, people who gave me opportunities very early on. And we want to hear from more women, as Dave was saying, to get on stage. So we're going to, have some conversations about that, but part of it is really just having that confidence and kind of the act as if. Men seem to do that very naturally, and women sometimes feel like we have to have everything perfect before we go do something, and sometimes you just need to go with it and, roll with it. And so, again, Dave and I are going to have a conversation in January about that. The other thing I would say is really we as women in the community, and men as well, is really support other women. Sometimes women tend to, I think, because maybe, they've had opportunities held back from them, tend to be real competitive with other women rather than really supporting other women as strongly as we could. And so I think there's really something to be said for reaching out and, having a mentor, but also really being a mentor, looking at women that are coming up in the business that could really learn. And I know you two have done so much of this in your careers, and I have as well, is, we've all had hands reached out to us, and where can we reach out, and help lift up other women. I think, it said that a strong person really stands up for themselves, but a stronger person stands up for other people. And so I'm hoping that we can have more opportunities to really, help raise up other women in the business.
Yeah, that's great. And Casey, actually, one of that really plays well into that, some of the things that you talked about in our interview about how you created or developed those culture awards that you mentioned, by having a kind of holistic approach to making sure everyone is having training and feeling fulfilled. You have a specific process, which is incredible as a leader and as a manager in the industry. Can you talk a little bit about how you talked about, I think, servant leadership and some of the extra things that you do on top of just like, here's your steps to success. You also are having them, make sure that they're reading regularly, getting classes to enhance their careers. And I think a lot of women really need that in order to propel their career forward. I certainly, like Sue said, I had mentors, and that's why I'm here today. So,
it's interesting. I read recently that, and I hope the guys listening in don't begrudge us on this, but do you know that more people would like to report to a woman than to a man? That has just recently come out. So there's something to be said for women leadership. We're compassionate, we're caring, and we have to still, in a sense, be tough without being perceived as anything other than just being a good business person. And I think I shared with you, Kristin, I have been, Sue, you couldn't have said it better. I am blessed. I am where I am as a result of other people pouring into me, both men and women. Yeah. And so I think that we could be more intentional. Right now, within the mortgage companies, here's an example. Something that my previous organization did that I thought was brilliant is they created internally an advisory group of loan officers, and they made sure that they had a representation of women, men, Hispanics. I mean, you name the diversity in that group, so no one was speaking on just their own behalf, but on behalf of all the respective people in the company. That advisory group, again, internal, was all loan officers saying, we're going to roll out new technology. We want you guys to know first and get your thoughts. We're going to roll out a new process. That gives the woman a voice. And so many of you listening in, if you have large companies or even small branches, is just making sure you're inclusive of getting everyone. Again, not just about women, but of having someone representative of each of your races and genders, if you will.
One of the things, if I can just jump in with one quick thing that you just made me think about, because I know we've all been involved with the National Association of Minority Mortgage Bankers of America. Tony Thompson started this great group, and that's something just to really think about. Again, there's this great conference called Connect, and it's coming up in April, and I know I'm going to be there. You guys have been there in the past. You'll probably be there as well again. But that's also a fantastic venue for women leaders to meet other women leaders, raise each other up, and really learn a lot from each other. So just put that on your calendar. I'm sure Tony Thompson will be coming out with some more information about that conference. It's April maybe 14th, 13th, 14th. It's namba.org. But yeah,
I just interviewed him last night, actually.
Okay.
So
cool.
yeah, we'll put that in the Mortgage Coach community as well.
Yeah, awesome.
Yeah, let's put that in the community, and if you're watching this on video, there'll be a link below in the description to that. Anyways, you guys keep it going. It's a great conversation.
Well, I think you know the measure of a great leader, right? That they're respected by men and women. So when you get, and it's not about being just a female leader, it's about being a leader. And so our goal is to help grow more leaders. You know, we have a leadership program at Xenix. It's not intended to be just female leaders, but I really think if lenders today think and evaluate their entire team, ask, are they pouring in to their leaders? And hopefully there's a representation of women in there, of course, but only deservingly so. But I'm finding, Sue, that there, and Kristin, there's just a gap in our industry in developing people. Our industry at large has been somewhat hands-off, and you know, I love this industry. Obviously, I've dedicated my life and my career to empowering and getting people better. But what I find is that leaders are sort of a hands-off. You know what? They can do what they want to do. I don't have any requirements, and you know, I'm looking at them going, but they work for you. And so I believe, Kristin, why my culture is so strong is because I believe every human being that works for me deserves me to pour into them to make them as great as they can be. And that means bringing them training, bringing them personal and professional development. And hopefully we can shift just the mindset of our industry at large to say, if you're not developing your people, you can't leave it up to them to develop themselves.
Yeah.
And definitely.
You know, it's interesting, Casey, because I think about what we see a lot with producing branch managers and even people who have evolved up into leadership. In a lot of cases, there are people who are fantastic mortgage experts, but they haven't necessarily had training in leadership and management and how to grow your people, as you were saying, how to pour into that professional development. And partly sometimes because the industry gets so cyclical that people just get busy. You know, they're so busy doing business that suddenly it's like, oh wait, I have to remember to help grow my people and try to grow my own management and leadership skills. And so I think you're hitting on something really important, is that, you know, that's got to be such a priority for the longevity of this business and for bringing new people in. Kristin, as you were talking about earlier, it's funny that people, you know, it's funny how people will talk about millennials. It's very interesting because we've always had people that are that age. You know, it's not like suddenly we have people that are 20 to 35. You know, we've always had people that are that age. So this has always been a priority. And I actually like, it's interesting that there's such a focus on it now. But those are the kind of things that are critically important as we move forward in this industry, is to really be cognizant and thoughtful and very intentional about our own leadership skills and how we're pouring into our teams, as you said.
Yeah, I do think it's so important that we don't just step back. Go ahead.
Oh, sorry to cut you off. I just want to make sure we jump on that point, because our industry as a whole realizes that technology is shifting how we do business, and everybody wants their loan officers to use technology better. We need to train better. So two things I want to make sure we get into this conversation. I'm going to show it on the screen right now. I want to make sure that we train our sales force. And to your point, Casey, we need to have more leadership managing standards. We need to have more women on stage. Right now, I'm showing on my screen our YouTube playlist. So I want to get more women on the Mortgage Coach stage. I want to utilize my social capital at some of the other events that we have to make sure that we've got women who are deserving to be on stage, sharing best practices, bringing leadership. So I have one more ask for everybody that's on this call. We have an amazing private Facebook group. Kristin's a part of that. Casey, I invited you to this group today. We've got, I don't know, almost 1,500 loan officers that have, you know, opted into this group. And we're having a great conversation in here. You'll see everything from interviews that I'm doing. Casey, you can see that I promoted today's call. Yesterday, I led a call for area. I mean, it's everything. Even, you know, we're in the middle of redesigning Mortgage Coach, and I put a question out there, and I think I got about, over 50 people commented on things they'd like to see improved in Mortgage Coach. So it's a robust group. I have two asks for everybody on this call. One, if you think you're a woman who should be on stage, let me know. Comment on our group. If you know a woman that you think should be on stage or I should interview, let us know. Also, make sure you get the word out on this group. So I think the majority of you on this call right now, you're already part of the Mortgage Coach community in the Facebook group. If you're already on it, play it forward. You know, it's easy to just go in here and invite another loan officer. You know, just go to this group where it says add a member and add some of your mortgage friends. And if you're not on this, get into the conversation. And then, Kristin, I have a favor for you. Will you post a comment after today's call, you know, asking for who are the women that should be on stage? So at least we start tracking them, and we start, whether it's the Mortgage Coach community, whether it's Sales Mastery, whether it's MBA, let's all do a better job of creating those opportunities. Sound good?
Love it.
Excellent.
Cool. So we've got about 4 more minutes left. I'll leave it to you, Kristin, to drive the last couple questions there.
I just lost you on my phone, so hopefully you can hear me okay now. I think I understood that you had talked about me posting on the Facebook group. One last thing I wanted to mention was just that, you know, we've been talking a lot about process and intentionality, and I think in order for us to get more women involved, get more diversity on Mortgage Coach, we have to, as the Mortgage Coach community, spot people and know, okay, there's a woman in my office who uses Mortgage Coach. I'm going to call her out, invite her to join this group, and talk to her about getting more involved. So having more women and more diversity at the table is good for everyone in the industry. And so, so that's just kind of the last point I want to make, and I want to leave it open to Casey and Sue for any last points that you might have around how we can be more intentional and supportive of getting more diversity and particularly more women at the table.
Well, I would just real quick follow up with what you said, and reach out to, if everybody on this call just reach out to one person and just have them join the community and join the conversation. I think that's how we expand this. It kind of goes to what Casey was saying a little bit ago that I just loved. I wrote this down when you're talking about small disciplines. You can change the world by doing small things every single day and just being really consistent about your actions. And so I think that says it all, is if we're all taking those opportunities, reaching out and helping other women, invite just one person to join the community and get on board and encourage them to invite one other person. Again, that's how we're going to make a big difference. And as I said, I'm looking forward to how I can help, the Mortgage Coach community and raise up some more speakers and leaders out of the great women that are in the business. So, and again, Casey, I'm sure you've got some great closing thoughts.
Well, I got to just give a huge applause to both Dave and Kristin, and I think, Sue, you'd agree with me that they're just making people more aware of it by just talking about it.
Yeah.
It begins with that, and not ignoring the obvious is that we just don't see a lot of women that are in either leadership roles or that are speaking on behalf of our industry. And so as active as Xenix is, even I could be more active in the market to help drive this conversation further. So I applaud you, Dave, being a guy, bringing this to the forefront. So kudos to you. We will make you our mascot, and so you'll be part of it.
Hey, it just makes sense.
Well, I got to ask you, you have better than a black shirt. So,
say that again?
The black shirt.
I like the black shirt.
All right. Hey, so let us know what you thought of today's call. Did we wow you and surpass your expectations with takeaways and values? If you are a guest to this community and want to learn more about Mortgage Coach, click the last option. Hopefully you got an hour of value. I highly recommend everybody downloads Casey's book and that she offered everybody. Also, tune into Xenix, like them on Facebook, like Casey on LinkedIn. Her husband does an incredible job. I follow him on LinkedIn, and I love his posts. He always brings a lot of great energy to our space. Kristin, thank you for joining this call and helping make it a great conversation. And Sue Woodard, we got to get you on the calendar for January.
I know. Thanks for letting me pop in.
I know.
And Dave, you got to
one more thing.
One time you have to say "Go Dogs," okay? Because all the men that are listening in the South, the Georgia Bulldogs are going to be in the next playoff, so you got to say "Go Dogs" for me.
Go Broncos. Go Broncos.
Go Dogs.
Thank you.
All right. Go Dogs. Go Dogs.
There you go.
Dogs.
Shout out.
All right. Take care, everybody. Have a fantastic day.
Everybody. Bye. Bye.
Bye, guys.